All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Scotty Talks NBA featuring my co-host Slim. If you don't know Slim, you can find him on the To the Galaxy pod that's on YouTube. It's called To the Galaxy. My man covers the Golden State Warriors, huge Warriors fan, but he also talks on the entire NBA as well, just like myself. So we're going to get you all covered with the NBA regular season predictions. We're going to talk about seeding in the Eastern Conference, seeding in the Western Conference, who we think are going to make it out of each of those conferences to the conference finals, then to the NBA finals, and then we'll overall give our NBA prediction for NBA champion. But if you aren't following Slim, you can find him at RTR30111 on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call that platform. But what's up, Slim? How you doing today, my man?
It's good, man. I'm pretty good, man. Glad to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
You are definitely welcome. Thank you for joining me to break it down. I'm excited, man. The NBA season is back tonight. You got your Golden State Warriors back in action first here. And they get to take on the Phoenix Suns, I believe. So that should be a hell of a matchup to start the season. What are you expecting out of that matchup tonight? Just preemptively here.
It's going to be a dogfight. A lot of emotions being displayed. Kevin Durant first game in front of the fans since he left. And obviously CP3 revenge game against the Suns. So a lot of emotions and just excited to see how everybody fit in with the offseason acquisitions that, transpired over the summer. So it should be a fun game for sure. Competitiveness, dogfight. Just going to be fun to watch, man. But we back.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. It's going to be interesting. Because you got some pieces that moved around there. Like you mentioned, you had CP3 coming from the Suns to the Warriors. And then obviously the Suns acquire Bradley Beal. He might not suit up tonight. We might not get to see that. But plenty of other new pieces there in Phoenix that we'll get to see take on the Warriors, man, who we know are going to be in the thick of it this season. But with that being said, let's actually start in the Western Conference since we got two Western Conference matchups happening tonight. Let's start from the top, though. We'll go seed by seed, 1 all the way to 10, and we'll just list off how we think the Western Conference is going to play out this season. So I'll go ahead. I'll throw you my number 1 seed to you. It's going to be the Denver Nuggets for me. I think they're going to follow up. I think they're going to be just as good as they were last year. And I think they're going to be right in the thick of it down the stretch this NBA season. I think Nikola Jokic, MVP candidate year in, year out. I don't think that's going to stop even with the championship win. But nonetheless, they are going to be my number 1 seed here in the Western Conference.
Yeah, same here. I got the Nuggets at number 1. They offseason, they lost some key pieces in Bruce Brown and Jim Garden. But I think they're banking on like a leap from Christian Brown and Peyton Watson. So I feel like with the right minutes, they can come in and produce, give them solid minutes just to hold down the fort while, Murray and Jokic not in the game. And also I expect MPJ and Gordon to take a leap offensively.
Yeah.
I feel like they would get the both of them more involved and run more plays for them and things like that. And I like the way they drafted. They got some pretty solid rookies. They can fit in with the way they play. They re-signed Reggie Jackson, DeAndre Jordan. So, I
agree, man.
Team as well. So.
Yeah, I actually did like some of the guys they brought in. Julian Strother, he had a nice preseason.
Yeah, he has like 17 points.
Shoot the laces off the ball. So he's going to fit right in. He's 6'6" guard. So he's going to fit right in with that Denver Nuggets team. And I do agree with you. I think Christian Brown, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr. definitely has some room to grow as a scorer. I believe he can get up to that 25-point per game mark, especially with Jokic and his playmaking. So I'm with you there. I love the Denver Nuggets still this year as the number 1 seed. I'll go ahead and throw you my number 2. You'll be very familiar with this team, but I'm going with the Golden State Warriors as my number 2 seed in the Western Conference, man. So I'll throw it to you. I'm interested to see who you have at number 2 and where the Warriors end up playing out for you.
I got them at number 2 as well.
So we're the same to start off here. Why do you have the Warriors at number 2 there? What do you like about them this season?
Well, first and foremost, Jonathan Kuminga. I feel like this is his year. I feel like he's going to take that leap. He playing with more confidence. He's been coming out and saying he playing more freely. and getting after it on both ends. I love what I've been seeing from him. I feel like this is his year. Same thing with Moses Moody. I feel like the both of them will take a leap that'll help the team for a title, as well as Chris Paul. He will come in and help us not turn the ball over as much as we did last year.
Yeah.
Just be that point guard that he's known for being. And also Dario Saric, he will unlock so many of our lineups. Stretch big, he can rebound, space the floor. He's a great passer, 6'10", 220. So he can help unlock a lot of different combinations with the way we like to operate. So yeah,
I like that Dario Saric call out because obviously I'm familiar with him as well. He played a few years for the Sixers. Yeah, he's exactly what you described. That stretch big. He can pass the ball really well. He can shoot it. So I think he'll fit in very well with the Golden State Warriors, just in some of the different rotations they can throw out there. It's going to be interesting to see who gets playing time for that team because you guys got a lot of options. And who's going to start, right? Like, I think that's been a big conversation there as well in Golden State. So I'm with you. I thought, adding Chris Paul, that just brings more stability to a roster that already has a ton of vets. But you get Chris Paul, who's going to be extra hungry, ready to lead this team because he wants a ring, right? He wants to be part of that Warriors dynasty. And this is his best chance that he's ever going to get and that he's probably ever gotten. So I'm with you on the Warriors there. My number 3 team, this is where the hype comes in. This is going to be the Phoenix Suns. They made a ton of additions in and out across this roster this offseason, the most notably being Bradley Beal, of course. But behind him, they've been able to bring in a couple other guys like Eric Gordon. I still like Damian Lee as a role player there, Nasir Little, and Yusuf Nurkic out of the Portland trade. And then you bring in a shooter like Yuta Watanabe. So they added some nice pieces in there. I believe Grayson Allen got added to this roster as well in that trade, the Damian Lillard trade I'm speaking on. But yeah, I feel like at first, when they got Bradley Beal, they brought in Kevin Durant. They traded all those pieces out. It was kind of looking a little empty as far as depth for their team. But I feel like with a few trades, they've kind of filled out nicely, and they got a nice, solid team. It's all about guys staying healthy, though. KD, Beal, Devin Booker all have their share of injury history. So that's going to be the key for them staying in those top 4 seeds in the West. But I got the Suns here at number 3, man.
Yeah, same here. Once again, I got them at 3. The big 3, like you said, KD, Beal, Book. I like that trio alongside the pieces that they have around them. Before that Aiden trade with the cards they was dealt in the offseason, I like what they was able to go out there and get. Like you mentioned, Watanabe. They re-signed Damian Lee, Josh Okogie, Metu, Drew Eubanks, Diop from Spurs. He played last season. So they got some solid players, but overall
they picked up some nice pieces.
Yeah, with the cards they was dealt. But with the trade with Ayton, I feel like that's just helped them in so many different ways. They have a lot more depth now, breaking in Nasir Little, Jokic, and those different assets. And I feel like Jokic with Nurkic, he would play his role more so better than Aiden would. He don't really need to be a scorer. He can be a screen setter, playmaker, dive into the rim, and things like that. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Nurkic is a nice piece to add there, especially with his toughness. He does have a little bit of injury history himself, but if he can stay healthy, that's a nice guy to help against Jokic in the West. You don't got many options to help against that guy. So anyone you can find if you're the Suns. So, yeah, I agree with you there. This one's interesting. I'm interested to see if you match me here because I feel like I'm a little high on this team than others. But I got the New Orleans Pelicans as my number 4 seed in the West here, man. I'm very high. I'm a Zion Williamson guy. I think he's going to come back. He looks like he's in the best shape of his NBA career so far. And I'm expecting this team to take some leaps. They showed signs whenever Zion's been able to stay healthy, but he just hasn't been able to do that over the first couple of seasons. I think this season it changes. He's in great shape. And I think we finally start to see the Pelicans for real in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I don't have them at that seed. I got the Lakers.
I got you.
Yeah,
I like the Lakers. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I like what they did this offseason. I gotta give him an A+, man. Rob Pelinka has done a
Yeah,
phenomenal job
yeah,
shaking up his roster around LeBron and AD. As I mentioned with the Suns, with the cards they was dealt, bringing in Torian Prince, Karen Reddish, Jackson
yeah.
Hayes, extending Vando, Rui, AD, re-signing D'Lo, Austin Reeves. So just a phenomenal offseason, guys who complement them so well, and just also Gabe Vincent, bring him into the
Yeah,
mix.
Gabe Vincent,
Yeah.
Christian Wood.
That's
Yeah,
just Wood, yeah. So
they added a lot of
they had a
pieces.
lot of people.
I'm sitting there
So
looking at the roster. I see Cam Reddish in here, which
yeah,
Cam Reddish, obviously, he's had some down parts to his career, but he has upside. Torian Prince, as you mentioned.
yeah,
So, yeah, I'm with you. I actually like what they did this offseason as well, which I have them right here at number 5 as my 5 seed. So, not far behind where you have them. But for all the same reasons, I think AD is going to come out highly motivated this year. I think LeBron's ready to show that he's still got it, even at his older age.
yeah.
And you mentioned it. They added a ton of like rotational pieces that can kind of keep them afloat, even if like LeBron or AD has to miss some time here or there. So I actually love what the Lakers did as well, man. Who do you got at number 5?
Number 5, I got the Kings. I feel
Okay,
like the
okay.
Kings, like a lot of guys, I've been overlooking them once again. Last season they ended their 16-year playoff drought, and they're only going to get better.
Yeah,
Coached by Mike Brown, he's such a phenomenal coach. Darren Fox, Sabonis, that's a nice duo. They got some nice pieces around them. They re-signed Harrison Barnes. They brought in JaVale McGee and Alex Len. They got size, and I expect Keegan Murray and Davion Mitchell to take a leap this season. I feel like
yeah,
they'll have more opportunity to display their talent and have the green light to go out there and ball out. And and also one guy that they traded for was Chris Duarte from the Pacers. They
yeah.
practically down for nothing. Like he can get buckets. He can fit in
He's
with them.
nice. Yeah,
He's nice.
six five.
The way they like to operate. He averaged like 13 points his rookie year. The past few seasons, he's been kind of dealing with injuries, but I feel like he can have a chance to display his talent over here with Sacramento. And he has chemistry with Sabonis, so yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, I actually like that you pointed out Chris Duarte. He actually comes from the West Coast too, ironically enough. So maybe kind of getting shipped back over closer to home, right? Like maybe that makes him a little bit more comfortable with the Kings. But yeah, that's a team that was high on the rise last season, and I do agree with you. I think some people are kind of overlooking that team, maybe even sleeping on them. And I may be one of those people that's doing that. So
Yeah, I like what they did, man.
don't hate me too much though.
Yeah.
My number 6 seed is going to be the LA Clippers. With that being said, obviously in mind, I'm having Kawhi Leonard, PG-13. Those guys have to stay healthy at some point for this team. They have to play together at some point on this team when it matters. And I think this season we should see healthier versions of both. They've had more than enough time to get their bodies right while they've been on this Clippers roster. So I expect them to play this year, but they also have a pretty deep team. I think people are sleeping on Russ. I think he has another part of like kind of a bounce back since leaving the Lakers. Played really well for the Clippers down the stretch. I think he continues that this season. You got guys like Norman Powell, Terrence Mann, Nicholas Batum, Rocco, all the way down the line, Marcus Morris. So you got a bunch of different guys. Now, obviously, all the talk about them maybe trading for James Harden. I think if you want James Harden, you go out and you do what it takes to get him if you're the Clippers. But
Yeah.
at the same time, you know how I feel as a Sixers fan. If I can get this man off my team, I'm going to do it. So if I'm a Clippers fan, I can't say that I would be like banging the table for James Harden because I think they got enough there to the point where if Paul George or Kawhi Leonard are not healthy, they're not winning even if they have James Harden, right? Like if it is going to come down to their health at the end of the day, regardless. So that's why I don't think it's worth it to trade assets plus players for James Harden when you just don't even know what you're going to get in the playoffs, man.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. With Harden, to me, he just don't move the needle when it matters the most. Like, and
Yeah, exactly.
On Twitter, he's not a big fan of if they were to get him. So I don't blame him. He just doesn't move the needle. So
yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Who do you got at number 6?
So coming in at number 6, I got the Timberwolves, man.
I like it.
I feel like Ant-Man would take a huge leap this season. I feel like he would lead those guys to the playoffs, and I feel like Cat would be the perfect number 2 option alongside him. I feel like Jaden McDaniels and Nas Reed will both take leaps. They will help them. And Mike Conley is a great point guard. He would get other guys great shots and things like that. As far as off-season addition that they added, no guys too major. Just I think they added like Troy Brown and a rookie or so, but the same guys. They just extended Jaden McDaniels of like yesterday or something like that. And they got a nice. They re-signed Nas Reed, so yeah, and I feel like they can be a playoff team for sure.
Yeah, no, I like the T-Wolves pick. That's my number 7 seed as well. I think last year you just didn't get to see Cat on the floor that much, and that's kind of an improvement in itself, just getting him back healthy. And he had a good offseason over in I believe it was Puerto Rico that he was playing for in the FIBA tournament. So he had good showings out there. I'm with you. I want to see how he looks with Rudy Gobert, but I think even if it's a bad fit, I still think they can win enough games to make the playoffs as like a 7 or an 8 seed. So I'm with you on the T-Wolves. I'll go ahead and just give you my 8 seed as well, and then you can just give me your 7 and 8. My 8 seed is going to be the Sacramento Kings, who you mentioned earlier. So while they do kind of dip compared to where they were last postseason, entering the postseason, I don't think it's necessarily their fault in my eyes. Like, I just think that other teams have gotten better, healthier, different things that are going to play a big part of this season. So that's ultimately why I got the Kings coming in at the number 8 seed. I still think you get them in, you see what they can do in the postseason. They're they're a high pace, high scoring type of team, and they can give anybody a test in the postseason. So I think they're a team that you just got to get them into the postseason and see where they go from there, man.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, for sure. So coming in at we on 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So coming in number 7, I got the OKC Thunder.
Oh, I like that.
What we've seen this past preseason with Chet Holmgren, I love it. Like on both ends, he's showing the flash to be elite, and you pair him alongside SGA, Josh Giddey, Jalen Williams, Lou Dort. This team can make some noise for sure.
I like that pick, man. OKC's definitely a sleeper team this year. They got their MVP candidate in SGA, and then you got the perfect pieces around them between Jalen Williams, Josh Giddey, Lou Dort. Down the line, there's a ton of talent on that team, and they're just going to keep building because they have draft picks out the ass the next couple seasons as well, man. They're just going to keep adding pieces there. Who do you got at number 8 to round out the Western Conference?
At number 8, this was definitely tough for sure, but
a lot of good teams in the West.
Only depending on health, I got to go with the Pelicans. It's on the right, like you mentioned with Zion. This probably looked like this would be his best year. He coming in shape. Yeah. He may enter the MVP conversation. We have to see. I like the pieces they got around him. A vet like CJ McCollum who can go out there and get a bucket. Yeah. Valanciunas is a double-double machine to a certain extent. He can stretch the floor. You got a shot creator, Brandon Ingram. You got defenders in Trey Murphy, Herb Jones. I like Jose Alvarado. I like what they done, man. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it, obviously. I have them as my number 4 pick. But like I said, I know that might be overrating them. They're one of my sleeper teams this year, though. I think the Pelicans, if they can stay healthy, like you said, can be really good. Couple teams we didn't mention, just want to give some honorable mentions to because they're teams that very well could make the playoffs. The West is just stacked. You look at the Memphis Grizzlies. We didn't really mention them. Obviously, Ja Morant's going to miss a couple games off his suspension. They had Marcus Smart. They had some pieces there. Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane. Can they get better? So Memphis, definitely a team to watch. Would you say?
Steven Adams, he just had a season-ended injured surgery, I think, yesterday.
Oh, man, that is a huge blow. We know how much they missed him in the playoffs, too. I appreciate you bringing that up. I did not hear about that. But that is a huge blow for the Memphis Grizzlies. The other team that I wanted to mention here is just kind of a sleeper, or maybe people just aren't thinking about them when they should, including myself, but the Dallas Mavericks, right? Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving extended now. They added a few pieces this offseason, like Grant Williams, who has a ton of playoff experience with the Celtics. So I think they could be tougher. Maybe I'm sleeping on Luka and what he can do with the team. But
that's actually added my HC, but it just depends on health though. Zion healthy, I have them over them, but if he's not, then the Mavericks for sure my HC.
Yeah, no, I can agree with you there. I think even on the Mavericks, so it depends on health as well, right? Like maybe not health, but Kyrie Irving, does he play or does he not play the whole season? So it'll be interesting. But they are a talented team. Added Seth Curry back to the mix down there as well, so they're gonna have plenty of scoring. The West is stacked though. Even a team like the Houston Rockets, I mean, they got a ton of young talent. They added Fred VanVleet and a couple other pieces there. What's the other team? Spurs. I don't think they're ready yet, but Wemby looks to be the truth. I don't think they're ready to make the playoffs just yet in the West, but he looks like he's the truth out there. Let's switch gears. Let's head over to the Eastern Conference. Then we'll finish out the show with our conference finals picks and then the NBA champion picks. We'll start at the top just like we did with the West, but I'll throw it to you this time. You can start first. Give me your 1 seed.
So coming in number 1, I got the Boston Celtics. This offseason for them has been great. You know, obviously you hate to see, if you're a Celtics fan, you hate to see Rob Will and Marcus Smart go. But you look what they brought in. They brought in Porzingis, a guy who will go out there and get you 20 and 10. You bring in a guy like Drew Holiday, an NBA champion, 2-time All-Star. So, I love what they done. They extended Jaylen Brown, the richest contract in NBA history. So, I like what they've done this offseason. They still got Derek White, Al Horford, so, I love what they've done. I feel like they can be the number 1 seed, depending on health, though, because, Porzingis, he has been dealing with that for quite some time. But when healthy, he's definitely a 20 and 10 type of guy. Yeah,
no, I agree. And Porzingis is coming off his healthiest season of his career in reality. Last season with the Wizards, I believe he was with last year. And I think he averaged like 23 and 10 last year with the Wizards, like he said. So love that addition for them. I agree, though. You talk about losing Marcus Smart. You added a guy like Drew Holiday who can fill that role and probably do more. So I think they win there. But, Rob Will, you don't love seeing him go. Obviously, that's a nice role player. Malcolm Brogdon, 6th man of the year. Obviously not easy to let him go, but I think you do it for Drew Holiday nonetheless. My number 1 seed, though, is going to be the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm going with the hype. Going with the big trade for Damian Lillard. I think it's going to make a huge difference for Giannis. I think Giannis is one of those guys that's going to be clearly up at the top as far as the running for MVP this year, just off of having Damian Lillard in that space. I think he's going to be a much more efficient player. And their team, man, it sucks for me as a Sixers fan to even say this. Their team is just so, well constructed. You look at it from the top to the bottom. You got Dame Lillard, Pat Connaughton, 6'5" guard that can defend, shoot the three. You got Chris Middleton, obviously can score 20-plus points a game. You got Giannis, MVP candidate. You got Brook Lopez, who spaces the floor, can hit threes, also a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Bobby Portis off the bench, Malik Beasley. So they added even more pieces. Obviously lost Grayson Allen, one of their nice bench pieces from last year in the trade for Dame, but you get Damian Lillard. I think you're going to be okay without Grayson Allen. So I went with the Bucks at number 1. I went with the Celtics at number 2. Who did you have at number 2?
At number 2, I got the Bucks. I mean, it's only right. In my opinion, this is the best duo in the league right now. We haven't even really seen them play. They're just going to complement each other so well, with the pick and roll action. It's just going to be tough to cover. And as you mentioned, I love the lineup of Dame Dollar, Pat Connaughton, Chris Middleton, Giannis, Brook Lopez. And they got some nice pieces. They got Cam Payne, Malik Beasley, Jay Crowder, Bobby Portis. They got some nice pieces, and they expected Marjon Beauchamp, their rookie they drafted last year, to take a leap. So I like what they have so far. So
no, I like it. Obviously, you could go either or with the Bucks or the Celtics, 1 and 2. But I think They're like the clear-cut 1 and 2, though. I think
Yeah,
they're
for
the
sure.
clear-cut top 2 teams in the East. Who do you have at the 3? And then let's go by twos here. Who do you have at the 3 and then at the 4?
So at the 3, I have the Sixers. Despite this
Okay.
Harden drama, they're still a pretty good team. They added some solid pieces. They added
Yeah.
Pat Bev, Mo Bamba. They re-signed Danny Green. They brought him back. And we haven't had a chance to really talk about this, but Kelly Oubre, that's a guy.
Yeah.
When you was on my episode, we was talking about the wing depth, and y'all got a guy like him for cheap. That's a steal to a certain extent. He had a career season, even though it really didn't mean nothing because he was on a trash team with the Hornets. But he's still a guy who can, provide scoring. He can rebound because, he played for us. He could be a solid point of attack defender. He can shoot the ball. So he could be a nice fit, guy who can give like 15 plus points a game. So, and I'm expecting Maxey to take that leap for sure. I feel like with James Harden not playing that, he can average somewhere along the lines of 24 points a game. And up. So the Sixers are my 3rd seed, and in my 4th seed, I got the Miami Heat. Despite them not getting Dame, they still got their culture. They added some pretty solid players, Josh Richardson, Thomas Bryant, and they drafted Jamie Hawkins. He could be a solid rotational piece.
Yeah, I like him.
Tyler Hero will be healthy. I feel like he would take another leap as far as scoring, and they may make a trade down the line. Who knows? Kyle Lowry and Duncan Robinson to get better pieces, but I still got them in my 4th seed. I wouldn't count them out.
Yeah, no, you can never count out the Heat, and I do agree. I think, Tyler Hero specifically is a guy that was kind of slandered this offseason, so I think he's going to take that personally and make sure that he improved to come into this season, prove his worth in the league. Number 3, I agree with you. Sixers, that's exactly where I have them as well. You mentioned some of the additions. You talk about Mo Bamba, right? We'll see what he can do as like a 2nd or 3rd string type of center. The guys that I'm really excited about are Patrick Beverley and Kelly Oubre, who you mentioned. I think Kelly Oubre adds like a dimension that they just haven't had, a lengthy guy that can score, that is not afraid to let it fly from the 3-point line. They need more spacers, floor spacers, and that's what he is. And he seems like he's motivated, man, coming in at that low paycheck point, right? Takes a vet minimum, basically. And I think he's going to be hungry to, like, prove his worth on a team that's competing for something real. You mentioned it. He's a 20-plus point scorer on the Charlotte Hornets. Doesn't carry much weight, obviously, in free agency. So he has to come to the Sixers. Maybe it's not 20 points. Maybe it's just 12 to 15 points a game. And that's going to make him look a lot better when he's contributing to a winning team. So I like those pieces. You added Danny Green back to the mix. I think he can give us something. Guy like Jaden Springer could have a jump this year. He's a young guy. But, yeah, I'm excited mainly because of Tyrese Maxey, who you mentioned, man. I think he's going to be a candidate for most improved player. And I think he's going to take a nice jump, 24, 25 points per game, like you said there. My number 4 is actually going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers. I know people have kind of gone downhill a little bit on the Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland duo. I'm not a true believer that you can have 2 undersized guards and win in the playoffs. But with that being said, it's still a hell of a talented team. It's a hell of a talented duo that's going to put up points. And they do have Evan Mobley and Jared Allen behind them that can protect the rim. They got more floor spacing with Max Strus, George Niang this offseason. Those were some pretty good ads. So, yeah, I'll go with the Cavs at number 4, and then I have the Miami Heat at number 5. So not sleeping too much on the Miami Heat, although they are this team that maybe doesn't take the regular season that seriously. So why would that change too much this year as well? Although I'm not holding the weight of losing Gabe Vincent and Max Strus. If they could find those guys, they can find other guys as well, right? So we'll see how it plays out, but I'm not sleeping on the Miami Heat ever, my man.
Nah, for sure.
Who do you got at number 5 and 6?
At number 5, I have the Cavs, like you mentioned. I'm not a huge fan of the undersized guards, but they both dynamic scorers, and they feed off each other pretty well. I'm expecting Mobley to take another leap this season. He was just in a Defense Player of the Year conversation last season, and I feel like he could take another leap for sure. And as far as the off-season additions, I love what they did They re-signed Cass LeVert. They brought in George Niang, Max Stress, floor spacing guys. They brought in the vet like Tristan Thompson, who can be a locker room guy, motivate these guys and know what it takes to win at the highest level. So, yeah, I like what they did for sure. They only going to get better. They still young. But, Donovan Mitchell on the win now, so we'll see how everything pans out. Do we sign a contract extension or do we want to move on? So,
it's going to be interesting. He'll be highly coveted, that's for sure.
Yeah, and coming in number 6, I got the Knicks. I like what they did this offseason. They signed Dante DiVincenzo. They re-signed Josh Hart. And I expect Emmanuel quickly to take a leap. He's going to a contract season. I feel like he can do it with the right touches and right minutes. And Tom Thibodeau's still the head coach. And we'll see how Julius Randle responds from last season. Do he be better and things like that? But I expect Jalen Brunson to still be him. He's only going to get better. So
he's a dog.
I love him. He a dog. And with RJ Barrett, do he take that leap? Enter himself as that top 5 wing conversation in the NBA.
Right.
We shall see.
Everybody's waiting for that. I'm with you there, though. I got the Knicks at number 6 as well. I thought they played pretty well in the postseason. Obviously, went all the way up against the Heat. Ended up getting, beat by them in the second round, I believe. After beating the Cavs, who once again I'm rating the Cavs over the Knicks. They took the Cavs to the shed last year in the postseason, and that dog and Jalen Brunson controlled that series. So I'm interested to see if they can kind of grow. I do wonder if the Knicks were kind of capped out at what they did last postseason, where, I love Jalen Brunson. I love Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, the nice Villanova connection. But in reality, RJ Barrett, you talked about it. He's a top 5, top 3 pick in the NBA draft. He's supposed to be entering into that echelon of, elite wings in the NBA, and I just don't know if he's there yet. So I just don't know if maybe they just hit their ceiling last postseason and they're just a second round team, right? But still, nonetheless, I do have them at the number 6 seed. After them, I have the Atlanta Hawks. So Quinn Snyder, the new head coach there down in Atlanta, with Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. They trade John Collins out, get that contract off the books. But I look for them to take a step under the new head coach, Quinn Snyder. I think he's a really good head coach, and I think he can figure it out with DeJounte and Trae Young and get them on the right track. I'll go ahead and give you my 8 seed, and then you can just round us out here on the Eastern Conference. But my 8 seed is going to be a surprise. It's one of my sleeper teams, and it's going to be the Orlando Magic, man. I'm having them make that jump into the Eastern Conference playoffs. I was between them, the Pacers. You got the Nets down there, the Toronto Raptors.
It was so hard.
Yeah, it's tough once you get down to the 7 and 8. But I went with the Magic to take that jump. I like Franz Wagner. I love Paolo Banchero, obviously. I think he's ready to take his jump. And I think this team starts to come about and become something. Just get into the playoffs, get that experience, I think is the first step for them. And I have them taking it this year, man.
Yeah, for sure. And number 7, I got the Hawks, same as you. I like what they done with adding Quinn Snyder as their head coach. I feel like Okongwu would take another leap as well. They just extended his contract for another 4 years. So I like him coming off the bench. He led centers coming off the bench in blocks, averaging 1.4 a game. So I feel like he'll take another leap. You got Trae Young and DeJounte Murray with 1 season under their belt. They only going to get better. One guy to watch out since John Collins has been shipped out is Jalen Johnson.
Yeah.
He can be a nice fit with those guys. A loud threat, a rebound, a nice playmaker, can shoot. So I have those guys at 7. I feel like Trae Young going to remind a lot of guys why he's a 4-time All-Star, because the disrespect has been getting real. So I got them at number 7. And number 8, this was definitely tough, but I got to go with the Brooklyn Nets. I feel like Ben Simmons is motivated, or at least he's fooled me to believe that. So we will see how everything go. I feel like Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson will both take a leap. I like their head coach, Jacques Vaughn. He's such a good coach with the way they like to operate. They got depth with Claxton, Royce O'Neal, Dorian Finney-Smith, Lonnie Walker, Dennis Smith Jr. So they got a nice, young, intriguing project going on over there in Brooklyn. So yeah, I got them in at number 8.
All right. So you got the Nets rounding out your top 8. So just the bottom, around the bottom 2. We got the same top 6 at least. And around the bottom 2 is where we differ. But I think that's where it gets kind of pick your poison and make your predictions there. So I feel you there. Real quick to end the show, man, I do got to get out of here. But I do want to get your final predictions. Eastern Conference Finals, Western Conference Finals, and then NBA Finals and NBA Champion. I'll go ahead. I'll throw you mine. I'm going to go with the Bucks and the Sixers. I think the Sixers are going to take that step surprisingly this season under Nick Nurse. I think they added the right pieces there. They'll take on the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals. And then I have the Bucks beating the Sixers to go to the NBA Finals. Over in the Western Conference, I ultimately went with the Golden State Warriors versus the Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals. Have the Nuggets knocking out the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference Finals to take on the Bucks in the NBA Finals. Ultimately, I have the Milwaukee Bucks winning the NBA championship this year.
Yeah. Nice. That's nice. So with me going to the Eastern Conference, I got the Celtics versus the Bucks. But I will say this, it was tough, but it really depends on how the Sixers play, how this Harden situation plays out. If it plays out for them to get a reliable piece, then I have them. But for now, I got the Bucks versus the Celtics, and ultimately I have the Celtics beating the Bucks. Moving on to the finals, and with the Western Conference, I have the Warriors versus the Nuggets. I'm gonna be a little biased here. You know, I got the Warriors winning, going to the finals.
I respect it.
Yeah. And overall, it's tough to admit, but I think the Celtics will get the best of us this go around. They got better pieces that fit Tatum and Brown, and the new coach, he has more experience on his belt and things like that. So,
no, I love it. I love it. You're giving yourself props, but kind of like myself, giving the Sixers the benefit of the doubt to make the Eastern Conference Finals. You got the Warriors making the NBA Finals, and I think that's more than possible. I think with that being said, you picked the Celtics to win the championship. It kind of feels like they're due, right? Like Jason Tatum, they made the right additions. So I like the picks. You got the Celtics. I got the Bucks. We both got an Eastern Conference NBA champion. That is going to be it for this episode as far as regular season, conference, and NBA Finals predictions. Be sure to give my guy Slim a follow at RTR30111 on Twitter. And, of course, be sure to subscribe to his pod. I will leave it down in the notes here. You can find him on YouTube at the To the Galaxy pod, where he covers the Warriors' as rest of the NBA. Tomorrow, we will be back with our individual player awards. We'll get those predictions out, and we'll pick a in-season tournament winner as well. So we'll add that to the plate as well as top 10 power rankings. But with that being said, this is it for this episode of Scotty Talks NBA. Thank you again, Slim, for joining me, and thank you to everyone that takes the time to watch this video. Be sure to like and subscribe. Peace.